Hey everybody. Um, I am going to provide you with a supplemental uh, lecture here. Since I didn't get all the way through chapter one, I'm going to finish talking about it. Just so you'll have all the information. And next week when we resume in class on Monday or Wednesday, whichever day you're supposed to be there, we'll pick up on chapter two. So I am picking up about where I left off in each class. If I repeat some things that I've finished in the class, just bear with me. We'll get into the material really quick. Just want to make sure that everybody's up to speed. So we're still in this first chapter talking about service and for hospitality organizations. And I'm going to talk a little bit about strategic planning. And strategic planning is long-term planning on how you run a business, for instance. So there are two sorts of time frames we look at, or two different approaches we take. We have tactical planning and then we have strategic planning. Tactical planning is best described as short term. It's like, how am I going to make it through this shift? How am I going to meet my goals this week? What specific ways am I going to solve this problem in the short term? Strategic planning is long-term planning. Strategic planning is, what is the purpose of my business? How am I going to survive versus my competitors? What is the uh, overall long-term plan for the way I'm going to operate my business? And so we're going to talk about the strategic planning process here in the next few minutes. And the steps are, we're going to perform a SWOT analysis. You formulate strategies, you implement strategies, and then you see how good your results were. You monitor and evaluate. So the first thing I want to talk about here is the SWOT analysis. And I put a video up Thursday morning of a SWOT analysis. It's a short video. It's only like 3.5 minutes. Someone demonstrating how to perform a SWOT analysis using Starbucks as an example. So what SWOT is you're looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So this is your first step in any kind of planning. And I would say even personally, when you're trying to come up with a plan for, like, what am I going to do when I graduate? Or what's the right career for me? Or, should I take this job? One of the things it's always good to do is perform what's called a SWOT analysis. And so in this case, it's a business, but the strengths and weaknesses, these are things that are internal. So if it's your business, these are the things that are internal to the business that you can control. So you can control who you hire, you can control who your employees are, you control what your resources are, how much money you have in the bank. That's something you have control over. If we're talking about personal, like if I said you could perform a personal SWOT analysis, what are you good at? Do you read quickly? Are you good at math? Those would be strengths. Weaknesses, well, on the other side, I'm not good at analytical thinking, or I'm not good at long-term planning. So when we do the SWOT analysis, we make a grid with 4 squares, and we have the internal and the external things, and the positives and negatives. So the positive internal thing, that's going to be strength. So there you put those things, like I'm good at math, I'm good at these. The weaknesses, I'm not good at analytical thinking, I'm not good at long-term planning, I procrastinate. Or if you're in a business, you talk about where strengths would be, we're in a strong cash position. Weakness could be, we have poor market penetration. And then you look at things that are external, that you don't have control over. Things you don't control still affect your business. So if a law changes and your product suddenly becomes illegal, well, that's a threat to your business, but you have no control over it. So we look at things that are opportunities and threats. So opportunities are things out there you don't control that could affect your business positively, and threats are things out there that could affect your business negatively. So an opportunity, something you have no control over that's external but could affect your business, would be something like changing demographics. So we're living in a world where the average population is getting older. Well, that's a fact. So is there an opportunity in that? Well, there could be. If you are a lodging company like Marriott did this SWOT analysis and looking for opportunities and said, you know what, the population is aging, we should get into retirement communities, because we operate hotels now, And a retirement community is very similar. You're providing rooms, you're providing cleaning, food service. A lot of things are very similar. And so they saw that as an opportunity by doing this, looking at the external environment and then looking for, what's something out there that may benefit us in the future. And then you look at things that are threats out there. So you're trying to figure out what's going on in the environment that may affect you. Another one, may be like, again, the aging population could be a threat. If you have a business that depends on a large population of very young people, and the population is aging, there are fewer and fewer young people, well, that's a threat. Maybe you need to change your business model. And so the goal of this is to try and figure out how well your company is working in current markets. And is there something you could change that'll make more business for you, or something you need to be aware of so that you at least avoid a problem? So once you've done the SWOT analysis, and it's really important, you do the SWOT analysis first, because that tells you where the opportunities and risks are. And once you do that, once you've done your SWOT analysis, you can look at it and say, well, here is a market segment that I'm not serving, but I could. And you start figuring out how do I approach that? I've identified that there's this need out there. Now I start figuring out what's the best approach to solve this. What I want to do is I want to maybe increase the number of times the customer is using my service. Taco Bell did this. They're trying to compete. They're trying to grow. They're constantly trying to expand their business. And they looked at adding breakfast, and breakfast for them was not very successful. Some Taco Bell still sell it, but basically not. So they're dependent on lunch and dinner. And so Taco Bell's like, well, where can we expand? We haven't successfully expanded into breakfast. The other, their 3 meal periods, lunch and dinner are full. What can we do? Well, Taco Bell had a relatively creative idea. They marketed the 4th meal, which was Taco Bell advertised heavily based on the fact that they were open late. So you got the people eating lunch, you got the people eating dinner, and then Taco Bell became the meal of choice for people, or at least they were aware of, people who were eating after midnight, like that midnight to 4 o'clock. And so they were able to add, there's not a lot of competition there, so they were able to add new customers. And they did that by trying to figure out how to get more customers to purchase their existing product. And also, you pay attention to what the negative things are. What are the criticisms you're getting from your customers? Because again, this represents risks or opportunities for you that you should respond to. Then once we've formulated our strategies, we're going to go after 4th meal or something like that. Then we have to start figuring out how we're actually going to do this, because it sounds easy. It's, oh, we're going to go after a 4th meal. How? How are we going to guarantee, who's going to work these shifts? How are we going to schedule so that we don't have to pay overtime? Is this going to, are there going to be fundamental changes that are going to be different in our business model? For instance, are we going to have to add security guards if we're open late? Or are we only going to do drive-through? So there are a lot of mechanical questions that have to be answered on how you're going to accomplish whatever your goals are. And then you want to make sure that your employees understand why you're doing this and buy into it. Because one thing, I can guarantee that your employees will be resistant if you come up and say, hey, we're going to need you to work till 4 in the morning every day. That's not going to work. But if you come in and say, hey, we're coming up with a new way of doing business, we're going to be open later, it's going to open up some opportunities for advancement, we're going to need extra managers, the people who work night shift are going to make more money. There are all these things you would put in place to make it succeed. How are we going to do the marketing? Who are we going to market to? How do we reach people that are awake at between midnight and 4 a.m.? Who's that market? So there are all these questions that have to be answered, and then figure out how you're going to do it, how you're going to get employees on board. And then the last step in this strategic planning process is to monitor and evaluate, which is you keep an eye on what you did and see how successful it is, and then decide if it was worth it. So again, using Taco Bell as the example, Taco Bell, did your sales increase? Were you more profitable? those are numbers they have access to. That's the monitoring. And then the evaluate. Well, yes, we made more money, but we made 1% more money, and we're open for 4 more hours. Well, maybe that's not worth it. The return was very small, and they choose to stop doing it. Or they look at it and say, well, we had to work an additional 4 hours of labor, for every store that we operate. But on the other hand, we saw a 25% increase in revenue. And so in that case, it may be worth it. Other things you want to do in these situations, you're going to have a lot of change is going to be occurring, and you do your best to plan for it, but there's always going to be things that you can't anticipate. So it's good to have employee buy-in, the employees support and understand the idea of what you're doing, and that they have the power to solve problems that may occur and come up with policies and procedures that are going to make it work. Okay, so I mentioned this in at least one of the classes, talking about hospitality businesses tend to be what are called capacity constrained, which means that we can't create more of our product to satisfy short-term need. So if I am manufacturing sneakers and my sneaker is very successful, well, I can put a third shift on and manufacture more. I can hire another manufacturing plant to manufacture more of my sneakers for me. So if people are buying them, I can make more. But in a hotel, I can't do that. If I have a bunch of people come into my hotel and need rooms, well, if I have 100 rooms, I have 100 rooms, and that is how many I can serve. I cannot serve more people. The same with a restaurant. I have a certain number of seats. That is my total capacity at that time. So the supply and demand vary, or the demand varies all the time. You think about a restaurant, 3 in the afternoon, it's really dead. 7 at night, it can be really busy. So we can't manage our supply. We manage our demand, and so I mean, we can, in a small way, manage supply. Like, you can build more hotels, but that's a long-term strategic thought. So managing supply becomes more of a tactical solution. So I said that we really don't manage supply much. I can build more restaurants, I can build more hotels, but that's a long-term, slow response to a situation. Because I can't vary the amount. I realistically can't do this. There's no way on the short term I can respond to increasing demand. Now, there are a few things I can do, because like when there's a busy season, well, I can put on more workers. I can have more servers. I can have have a dining room that's only open a few months a year or something like that. So there's a little bit I can do. I can have part-time employees that come in and work during busy times. I can do split shifts. So there are a few things I can do to manage supply, but not as much. Most of the time, we're managing demand. So these are some strategies that you may see commonly in hospitality businesses that manage demand. So like an early bird special, having people come in and eat 4 to 6. Well, we do that because those are slow times in the restaurant. We tend to have a full staff at that time because we're getting ramped up for the dinner meal. We have empty seats. So if I lower the price or offer some sort of special to get some people who would otherwise not come to show up at these times, to supplement the other people that are coming in later, then this is just extra money. This is extra revenue. It's something we should do. Now, if I offer an early bird special, and the people who usually come at 7 and pay full price instead come at 4 and pay a reduced price, I've actually lost money. So you have to be smart about the way we approach these specials. You don't want to give away your profit. You don't want to do the same thing that you do during our high demand periods. Happy hour is the same sort of way, same sort of idea. Drink specials, reduce prices, getting people to come in when they otherwise wouldn't. Reservations is managing demand. Most people want to eat in this narrow window of time. Most people want to eat, say, between 6 and 8. So those are going to be very busy times. And if I didn't take reservations, well, what I would have would be a bunch of customers show up, and most of them would be angry because they weren't sat. So by taking reservations, I can spread out the time demand a little bit for people using my service. Pricing strategies. Jekyll Island does this. I think I gave you this example already. Jekyll Island actually has as many visitors as they can accommodate. If they get more visitors, it'll actually start to degrade the environment. They've done a study to see this. They're kind of at the limit of the number of people that can visit. If more people visit, they'll start seeing environmental impacts. So they don't want more people to visit than come now. Well, how do you stop people? You don't want to put up a gate. You don't want to put up, or you don't want to have a velvet rope just letting a few people in at a time. What you do is you increase the price. That's why the gate price to Jekyll has gone up, is to actually reduce the number of people visiting. They're making money off the gate, but the primary function of the gate, or taking money to get on the island, is to keep capacity managed. We can offer different, managing demand, offering different varieties of products. So you can have, things that can accommodate crowds or, families or large groups. You have individual things. And the last thing that manages demand is advertising. I can steer people to certain products and certain times with the advertising that I put out. So let's say a strategic service vision. The idea here is to figure out what you're trying. Why are you in business? That's your vision. Like, what's the purpose? What purpose does your business serve? And then once you figure that out and who you're serving, then you start figuring out, well, products specifically to supply to them. And then you deliver the service they want. That's the key to success in business, is giving the customer what they want, even if they don't know they want it yet. But anticipating that thing they need and providing, and maybe that's with the type of service you provide, the things that can exceed the customer's expectations. Having, when you go to Chick-fil-A, who's renowned for having good customer service, they spend a lot of time on how you greet and interact with the customers, training people that way. Other things you can do, tailoring the service to meet the expectations of the customer, things like restructuring jobs. I don't need this person, I don't need the hostess just sitting at the hostess stands, for instance. When we're not busy, they could also be a server, or they could get drinks for people in the bar, things like that, to provide flexibility to serve the needs of the customer. That's the ultimate goal. Keys to good service. Don't forget who you are. Do the thing you're good at. That is the key to it. If you're Starbucks, it's probably a stretch for you to offer pizza. A lot of pizza restaurants are very successful. Doesn't mean you should adopt that. Stick to the things you're good at. Concentrate on those. Empower your employees. So it says every employee act like a manager, but basically employees should seek out and solve problems and be empowered to do that. Handle moments of truth and told correctly. Moments of truth, anytime a guest can form an opinion of your operation, you should win that moment of truth. So if the guest comes in and they are asking about where to park, well, you want to make sure that you're able, one, you understand maybe the reason they're asking is because they have someone who's in a wheelchair, and so that gives you an opportunity to address that. It's like, well, would you like me to call a bellman to help you? That's an additional level of service that can make an impact on a customer. But it's that not just when someone asks to park, saying, oh, around back, being attentive, trying to suss out what they need or may solve their problem for them. Hiring good people and keeping them happy. This is almost impossible not to stress highly enough. Companies that offer really good customer service tend to concentrate heavily on the hiring process. Companies like Chick-fil-A, Disney, Ritz-Carlton are all renowned for the fact that it's relatively difficult to get jobs working for them because they have very strict requirements on what they're looking for. Their attitude is, or their approach to it is, they can train almost anyone to have the skills. I can train you to have the skills. I can't change your attitude. So they're looking for specific types of people. And so, you know, if you want to succeed, find those people who value customer service and providing it. And then work to keep them happy, empower them, reward them, give them meaningful work to do, and acknowledge it. And then the last thing is just respond in a timely manner. This one is key. There's no better way to make someone angry than to let them think you're being ignored. And the last slide here are just, you know, Disney's basic priorities: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. So the first thing for Disney is they want to make sure that the environment is safe for the customer and the employee. Safety is number one, especially given their heavily family-oriented business model. Any sort of dangerous activity, any sort of injury is going to be amplified because of, you know, they are concentrate so heavily on being family, children friendly. So they make that one of their first priorities. Safety is number one. Courtesy, just, you know, not going beyond basic politeness. You know, that is one of those ways to not guarantee, but to help achieve satisfaction. Another service approach for Disney is show, that you are performing as a good customer service, right? This is a show. This is theater for the guest. And the last thing that, you know, Disney stresses is efficiency. Making things work as well as it can, constant refinement, constantly making it better. So that's your supplemental lecture for chapter 1. I'll see you guys next week.